What is going on to all my movie fans out there, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Elliot and this is MovieFiles. We are back discussing a brand new film given to us by the same producers that have given us films such as Nobody, John Wick, Atomic Blonde, Deadpool 2, Hobbs and Shaw, as well as Bullet Train, and they are here to give us a brand new dark holiday action comedy that says you should always bet on red. We are talking about Violent Night, which I got a chance to check out in theaters the other day, and I'm so excited to share my thoughts with you all. We're talking pros, we're talking cons, but more importantly, is this film worth your time? We'll be discussing that and so much more in today's spoiler-free review. But before we get into it, if you all haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that notification bell. That way you can stay up to date with all my daily movie reviews. You can also give your boy a follow on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. All those links can be found in the description of this very video. Which, speaking of this video, if you all enjoyed my movie review, make sure you're hitting that thumbs up. Make sure you're sharing this review, but more importantly, sharing your thoughts on this film once you've seen it in the comments below. We're talking pros, we're talking cons, favorite moments, favorite characters, things that didn't work for you all, and also, did you have a favorite scene or maybe a favorite kill? And another thing, once you've seen this movie, do you want to see more from this character? I'm talking maybe a prequel, maybe a sequel, and also, on a scale of 1 to ugly, how terrible is this sweater, and should I wear this for every review we do in December? Let's talk about it in the comments below. So first things first, I'm going to be 100% transparent with you all. For the first half of this movie, your boy was not having a good time. I wasn't laughing. I thought it was just too over the top. And then I said to myself, turn that part of your brain off, brother. Turn that analytical criticism side of your brain off. Now, we do have some criticisms we will talk a little bit about later. But once I did that, shut the brain off, I was able to enjoy myself a little bit more, and we'll get into the reasons here in a second, but I do recommend you all do that. Those that view films in a certain viewpoint, you're going to have to turn that brain off, y'all. But seriously, getting into my pros here, I do want to talk about one of the perfect elements of this film and the saving grace of this movie, I'm being honest with you. David Harbour, shout out to Jim Hopper on Stranger Things, he is perfect as Santa Claus, y'all. He has the perfect balance of being an older, grumpy, worn down Santa Claus that is at the point of his career where he's looking at these kids nowadays like they are just so ungrateful. They are just not appreciating the essence in the spirit of the holiday season, and this might be his last run when we meet this individual, but then he balances that out as the film goes along. You meet more, you learn more, you discover who this individual is, and he discovers himself in this movie, and he is a gigantic teddy bear. When you get to meet Santa, man, but he also can kick your ass if you mess with the wrong people. But I thought David Harbour was literally the best part of this film. The comedy beats work, the action, believability of the character work, the magic that you believe Santa Claus has works in this film. And I thought from top to bottom, even though I have my issues with how the film kind of plays out, I thought that he was perfect in this role. And also, without giving too much away, there's another movie that I would like to see just spawned on based on some backstory that we get with Santa Claus that I was hoping that this film elaborated on a little bit further, which we'll talk about my criticism a little bit later. But that backstory is very fascinating on how Santa Claus may have been, who he was before he was Santa Claus is very intriguing to me. But again, shout out to David Harbour. But there were some other players in this film. I think of John Leguizamo, who plays Mr. Scrooge, I believe his name was in this film, who's the bad guy. He's the leader of the mercenaries. They're coming into this family's home to try to take some money. And I thought that John, who I've been a fan of for a very long time, I like him in these more villainous roles because it made me think back to, and he's played other villains in other films, but one of my favorite roles of his in his filmography was when he played the bad guy in Spawn. Now, he's not on that level of absurdity and kind of hitting that level of just a lot of kind of goofiness at times, but he's kind of playing in that ballpark where he's having the one-liners. He has his reasons why he doesn't like Christmas and why he's doing the things that he's doing in this film. But I thought that you can tell when an actor is having fun in a role and just eating everything up, and you could tell he was having a good time. But another surprising element with this film, and a character and an actress I haven't seen in a very long time, is Beverly D'Angelo as one of our main characters. She is the lead of the house. She's the rich person that the mercenaries are coming to get their money from. I haven't seen Beverly in such a long time, and you all might recognize her from a various amount of projects. She's been acting for a very long time and has a great career, but I grew up with her as Ellen from the National Lampoon films, especially coming from it being a Christmas film and National Lampoon Christmas Vacation. I've never seen this side of Beverly as an actress. She is definitely a little bit more of a Grinch in this film, and understandably so when you see the movie, but I really enjoyed her performance. So those were some standouts for me. And also, there was the little girl in this film was fine. The other family members had some funny moments, but those were kind of my 3 standouts. But speaking of standouts, y'all, this is called Violent Night, and it is rated R, and it definitely deserves that R ratedness because the violence is very well done in this film. I'm not going to say what happens, but I have some standouts. Number 1, I base violent horror type of films based on the first kill. If you can give me a satisfying first kill, I'm going to be on board when it comes to the action. And when you see the first kill, let's just say it's a star. It's a star of a scene, and I'll leave it at that. And then from there, we go from, there's this barnyard massacre scene that was just like giving me all the feels of John Wick and Nobody and all those other films I mentioned, Deadpool moments. It's a very violent, action-heavy scene. In my favorite scene in this film, it pays an homage to one of my favorite Christmas films of all time. That is Home Alone. Oh my goodness, the Home Alone sequence in this film almost like completely gave me almost a letter up on this when we get to my score at the end of this film. That scene is fantastic. And also the last fight scene is very satisfying because it has a really great callback, and I'm a sucker for callbacks. So the action, the violence, it's there. Blood, guts, heads being torn off, it's all there for those that like those type of things, which I was here for it. So, and also I will acknowledge, even though I was a bit of a Grinch for the first half of the film, and it took me a while to get on board, the audience was eating it up, man. I was definitely feeding off their energy while watching this film. So I definitely think it's one of those films that if you do decide to see it with an audience, because I think you might enjoy yourself a little bit more. But gotta transition over to the criticisms. And I'm going to be honest with you all, even though I cut the brain off, it's still some things that just didn't work for me. Number 1, there's a lot of dead space in this film. This film is almost 2 hours, which I didn't think it needed to be that long. It's like 2:52 or so. It could have just been an hour and a half. It would have been a perfect runtime because there was just some moments where it was just flat, and some of the emotional moments didn't work for me. Some of the comedy beats I didn't find to be all that funny. So runtime was an issue. And also there's a lot of just dead air in this movie. But diving a little bit deeper, look, I can appreciate homages, paying respects to what came before you, or paying reference to some of my favorite Christmas films like Die Hard or Home Alone like this film does. But when a film relies heavily on those references, it takes away from the originality that I thought this film lacked. There's some plot holes, and I'm, again, turning that brain off. I still can't ignore things that this film did. Like, without giving the details away, the mercenary crew are there to get some money, and the whole plot with the money angle, and particularly there's a twist in the film that was just so unnecessary involving one of the family members. When you see the film, you know what I'm talking about, but how the hell did that particular family member, how were they able to accomplish what they were able to do in that short amount of time? You'll know what I'm talking about, but just remember the money. That stuff didn't make a lot of sense to me. And also, there's little things like this is supposed to be a compound, the most secure compound of any compound in the United States, but they were able to get into and infiltrate this house. It didn't seem to be all that high tech and the security base as they made it up to be. Listen, some of that stuff I can ignore because I think one of the benefits of this film, it knows what it is, and it knows it's being kind of corny and cheesy and not making a lot of sense, but still some of those plot holes stood out to me like a sore thumb. Another thing that I did not enjoy, I love the idea of Santa Claus' origin and where this Santa Claus comes from, but they should have dove deeper into that. They should have elaborated on that a little bit more. Hell, they might give us a prequel. They might give us a sequel that expands on that mythology, but I wanted more of that. And also, there is a better movie within this very movie involving Mrs. Santa Claus, and they should have just really played into what if Mrs. Claus was abducted. There's another movie in this movie that I would have loved to have seen. I don't want to give too much away, but the ideas were there. I just wish they were fleshed out more. So, without getting too much into the weeds here, before I give you all my overall score, if you stuck around to this point in the review, I appreciate you. Make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. Overall, like I said up top, once I shut that brain off, shut that criticism off, and just sat back and enjoyed myself, I was able to be entertained. David Harbour is great as Santa Claus. The action is very well done. It's bloody. It's uber violent, which I'm here for, and it has some really good standout moments. I do have to acknowledge the plot hole. holes, some of the flatness, some of the performances weren't all that great, but overall, when I walked out of the theater, I was sitting around a 2.5. I thought about it from the audience perspective. I spoke to some of my fellow critics that weren't the biggest fans of it. I came home, thought about it, slept on it. As I've talked myself to this point with this ugly ass sweater, I'm coming to a score of 3 out of 5, which is something I recommend you all check it out. Now, I know there's people that's going to love this film. I've seen some of the people already, some of my fellow critics saying, classic, it's a holiday special treat, and to each their own. I'm not to that level, but I'm also not as negative as some of my other fellow critics that I talked to after the film. So again, 3 out of 5, give it a watch, and when you do, let's talk about it in the comments. Again, favorite moments, favorite characters, favorite kill, and do you want to see more from this franchise? Let's talk about it. And also, like I said, rate this sweater on a scale of 1 to ugly. Let's talk about it in the comments. Again, you all are awesome. Hope you're staying safe. Just a friendly reminder to like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell. That way you don't miss out on any of my future content. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Hope you're staying safe. As you can see on the screen now, come and join the community. Check out my other reviews from this year. Check out my most recent review, and we'll catch you all on the next breakdown.